It's time for another new Media Tech. Coming up right after this, we're going to talk about moving into the video side of things, some things that are happening in the studio here that we've been going on, and the big storms from last week that kept us from recording the show live. Right after this. Hello and welcome to another episode of New Media Tech. And if you're wondering what happened last week, we didn't do a show, and I'll tell you a little bit why. We actually had some pretty severe weather here, and we decided rather than take the chance, because we weren't going to make it through the show with the way the power was going out, we decided just to go ahead and not do last week. Now, we didn't do the other show as well, but we did later on in the week. And we just never caught up with New Media Tech. So we basically missed a week, so you didn't miss anything. This is episode 15. The last show was 14. It was recorded on the 18th of June. So there's a week missing in between there, and that's why. We had some unusually severe weather. Almost all of last week, actually. We ran into lots of problems and didn't record. So last time we were here, we talked about distributing your shows and a few things like that. And we went down the audio track, and we're pretty much done with the initial part of the audio track. So we're going to jump over and start going down the video track. So let's say you want to do a podcast and it's a video podcast. So that's kind of what we're going to start talking about now. Today, I'm going to talk about some ways to get video in to your system and some of the tools are required. And the next few weeks, we're going to be going in more detail about using software-based switching, hardware-based switching, things like that. And today I'm going to show you different ways of getting video in. So, and this works mainly for if you're using a software-based switching system, because you have to get the video into the computer somehow. So what are your options for getting video in? Well, the most obvious one is a webcam. And for a lot of people that are just switching from audio to video, a webcam works very well. In fact, we've always gone through this thing with the audio of start inexpensively, because you don't know if in 10 weeks you're going to be tired of it on your podcast and you... Start inexpensively, because you don't know if in 10 weeks you're going to be tired of doing your podcast, and you don't want to put a lot of money into something that you're not going to keep on doing. And that's what happens. So many people get started, have this great idea, and then they either run out of ideas for a show week to week, or they just get tired of doing it, or something like that. So if it's something that's brand new to you, then start with a webcam. There are some very good webcams. I would recommend Logitech C910 or C920. The C930s are coming out here very soon. By the time you watch this, they could actually be out already, and they're supposed to have some pretty cool features on them, but they work fine. They're high-def cameras, and with nice lighting, they work really good. So that's an option to get it in. That's a very inexpensive option. You're talking somewhere between $60 and $100 about in the average range for a decent webcam. So if you have an older webcam, they'll probably still work, but the quality won't be as good as some of the new high-def cameras that are coming out. But let's say you have an HD Portacam or a little camera you use to shoot your family with, and you'd like to go ahead and use that. So as long as it is an HDMI out, you're probably going to be just fine. But then how do you get the HDMI into the computer? Now, there's a number of ways you can do this. There are some small little dongles you can buy, but the quality of those is typically pretty bad. So what I'm going to show you here is two different products that you can use to get video in. And there's actually some other ones too. We actually use one here called a mini recorder from Blackmagic Design, and I can't use it because I'm actually using it for the show. But I'd show it to you, and I'll bring it up on the website here in a second, and we'll show you some of the options there as well. And they're a little less expensive, but here's another one. This is from Blackmagic, and it's called an Intensity Extreme. And basically what it has is on the back, it has your FireWire, or I mean, not FireWire, I always call it FireWire, Thunderbolt. So this is going to work with a Mac, not necessarily with the PC, unless your PC has a Thunderbolt adapter on it. Right here you have HDMI in and HDMI out, and then this right here is a breakout, and the breakout basically has regular video and audio plugs that are like for composite video and left and stereo, left and right. I believe that's videos on the breakout as well. So you could, if you have a camera that does components or something like that, you can use this with that as well. So this is around it's a couple $100. I can't remember what the Extreme is. They make also a shuttle, which will also work, and they make a USB version of a shuttle. Now, a couple of caveats. This is based on what you're using for hardware. If you're using a PC, like I said, you have to have Thunderbolt. And if you're using a Mac, this will work just by plugging it in, and it'll go right away. So if you're looking at a shuttle, a shuttle comes in both a USB and a Thunderbolt as well. The problem if you're on a Mac, that is Blackmagic Design does not have drivers for USB 3 yet. So if you are looking at a shuttle, which is less expensive than this and basically the same thing. So I would look at a shuttle as another option, and I'll show you one of those next week. Mine is currently being borrowed, but it'll come back by next week, and I'll show you the shuttle. I'll go into more detail on the shuttle, as well as I might try to get a mini recorder for next week as well, an extra one. So here's another one. And this is by, well, you can say it's Aja, whatever you want to call them. And this one does a lot more. So if you are more on the professional side of things, you'd go this way. Now, I'm not going to recommend this for the average person because these are like $1,500 to buy. But it has some nice features. You see on the front, you may not be able to tell what that is, but these are audio bar graphs right here. There you actually plug a headset into this. And if you look on the back, I'll go through. Let me bring the camera overhead real quick, and I'll show you what's on the back of it. Let's see, camera 3. All right, let me move all this stuff out of the way. So you see on the back here, well, this is power. It looks like a microphone plug, but it really has 4 pins. You might be able to plug in an intercom system into it by accident if you're not careful. Here you have pass-through Thunderbolt, so you can have more than one of these devices in line. And then you have right here your component video out. So here's your 3 component videos. You notice these are BNCs, so they're very professional level stuff. HDMI in and out. You have SDI in and out twice. And at the very end is your reference in and out. Again, a very professional level quality. Most prosumer stuff doesn't even have references. And then right here you have your audio, and then you have RS-422, so you can do remote control stuff as well. So you see it's a very, very, very high-end box, much more than is typically needed for the average person who's doing video. But they make great stuff. Now, there are some caveats with this one too. Again, it's Thunderbolt, so it's not going to work on a Mac or a PC that has Thunderbolt on it. But some of the software-based switching solutions, I've been told, do not work very well with these boxes. So I don't use much software-based control where I need to bring something like that in, but that can definitely be an issue. So that's something to consider as well. But over the next few weeks, we're going to start going through this. We're going to do the same thing that we did with audio. We're going to start very simple, and we're going to move up. So I'm going to show you webcam next week, maybe some software switching to show you kind of how it works. And then we'll go up, and like I said, I'll show you maybe a shuttle, things like that. I'll go little by little, and we're going to build up through the video. So that's kind of what we're heading to now. So this week's going to be very short because we spend a lot of time in the studio rearranging things. In one of our other shows, we're starting to sell products, so we've just been very busy. But this week, I didn't want to skip over, kind of what we were going to cover last week, which was basically an introduction to the video side. So just like audio, you have to think, is my content right for video? Now, I personally think any content can be good for video because it's very interactive. And some people that I know, I download video podcasts, and some of them I listen to more than watch, but they're over there and they start talking about something or showing something, I can just look over at it. So even if your content's not 100% video related that would make sense in video, it's still not a bad thing to do video. I download everything in video these days, and I just pretty much, even if I just listen to it, I still download the video part of it because it's, I don't know, it's just part of how I like to do it, I guess. I don't know. Even the things that are mainly talk shows where it's a lot of banter back and forth, I still download some video, even though I don't even watch them. So like I said, it's kind of off to the side. I put my in-ears in and I'm working on a program or something like that. And I'll sit here and I'll be listening to it. And then I'll occasionally look over at it to see what they're talking about, things like that. So I do think video has a definite place in just about any podcast. So if you're not doing video yet, you could start doing it very inexpensively and just try it. Put out some video content and see how it fits in with the downloads. You may find you get a different demographic that's on that. You probably won't lose your audio listeners, but you may gain some video listeners or some viewers and stuff. So I don't think it's definitely ever going to hurt, because I'm one of the people that I don't even look at audio only podcasts anymore, and I'm sure I'm not alone. I think video is just the way it's going to go. And especially when you start getting things attached to your TV like a Roku box, you wouldn't want to just go into the Roku and listen only to a podcast. What's the purpose of putting it on your TV at that point? And now you have all these other devices that are coming to your TV. I think if you get video, it's a whole different medium to deliver your message. So, but that's something to consider. So definitely think about that. And like I said, if you're just doing audio and you don't want to spend any money on the video, totally understand. But if you have a webcam, you can probably do it with very little to no money, and may gain another set of audiences. Okay, so a few things that are going on around here. First of all, you notice the TVs behind me still aren't working right. I tried them before I got on the show. They were working the last time I worked on them, and now they're not, so I just let them off. But we think we figured out what's going on with all of our monitors around here. It was an electrical issue that we were having, and for some reason we weren't sure why. But I think that's all been solved. You may notice now that the camera's more level with me now, because we have gone around the room, and I've showed you before how I have basically all the monitors hanging off a truss, but they're hanging off of a pole that is designed to be a 2-monitor pole. They just weren't quite long enough. They were kind of, cameras are up this high, shooting down at me. Now they're at my height, and everything looks like it's coming in, like you're talking to me instead of standing above me. So that's something that we went through the whole studio and did all of that. I had to redo all the wiring for it, and undo all the wiring, put the poles up, and then redo the wiring. So we also have been working with adding Wirecast into our dual lower thirds, and you're probably noticing right now, if you're watching live, the lower thirds are not in there yet, and that's because the device we bought to do that only has one Thunderbolt port, and we really need two. We need one to bring the video in and one to take the video out. So what's going to happen, probably, at least for the short term, unless I decide to take one of our Mac Pros and put 2 cards in it, is going to be, we're going to start to stream from the Wirecast box and record on the Wirecast box, in addition to recording the way we currently are, which is to the SSD drives. So the SSD drives would be a backup, and then the Wirecast recording would be the master, and would have the lower thirds on it, and the stream would see that. So we wouldn't really be passing it through and putting in the middle between the ATEM and the recorder, and like we originally planned. The original plan was to put to the SSD drives everything that was going to the stream, but it's probably not going to happen that way. Not a big deal. And we do have a Mac Pro that's sitting here pretty close to the switching station, that if I pull out one card, I probably have enough space to put in 2 cards for 2 Blackmagic intensity cards, and which we have. We have everything we need to do it. The question is, do we want to remove the card that was in there, and is it that important to us? So we have to decide that, make that decision. And if we do it that way, then we probably would do it the way we originally planned, which is put a machine in between the switch and the recorder. And for next week, I'm probably just going to do it the way I mentioned before. And I have everything working. It's great. I don't have anything here in front of me at the moment, because we're still in this moving everything around process, and the cables that we're using to remote control that machine are laying on the floor here somewhere in the front, because we're still putting up wires. So we're not quite ready to do that, but hopefully later this week we're actually using that, and we're testing it, and by next week's show we should have that in place, and I can hopefully demonstrate that as well. All right, let's see what else has happened here. Oh, okay. So I mentioned before, we're starting to sell some stuff on one of our shows, our Let's Make It show. We make things for Arduinos, and we're starting to make our own shields. They're already in production now. We have some of them, if you watch the show, we've shown a couple of them on there already. And we have some of them out for production right now. And we're going to start selling that. So we're going to have a store on our page here very soon where we can sell that. And we'll sell that on Amazon and eBay and all that stuff as well. We'll put it everywhere. But we are coming up in the future going to talk about different ways to make money with your podcast. And there's passive ways. There's non-passive. I don't want to say they're interfaced, but they're non-passive ways as well. And then there's things like this where you're selling product on the side, promoting the product on the show. Do you do advertising on this show? Pay for that. So we're going to talk about that. That's coming up in about 3 weeks down different methods of making income from your podcast. And if you're just doing it for fun, which is, if you're not doing it for fun, you're doing it for the wrong reason, because the podcasting, it's a lot of work. It's a labor of love. It's not a labor of money for sure. There are some podcasters making some really good money, making a living at it. But first thing I want to say is don't think you're going to jump into it and within 6 months be making a living at it, because it doesn't work like that. It takes a long time to build an audience, but there's some things you can do to make some money, maybe offset some of the cost. But you're not going to get like a big advertiser. Not talking like a Twit Network where they're making $4 to $7 million a year in advertising. It just doesn't work that way. They have many years of track record behind them to ask that kind of money. So it's just not going to happen for somebody just starting out. So if that is your idea, I would think you might want to rethink that, because you're going to be doing it for nothing for a while, and that's just the way it's going to go. And that's when we did this network. This isn't our primary business. We do this on the side, and it's because we like to do it, like to teach people, and that's why we do it. Now, the let's make it thing, if it makes money, it makes money. If it covers the cost of the boards, it covers the cost of the boards. And we're not going to do it so we don't lose money on it, but it's something we like to do. It's fun to design the parts. It's fun to have them made. It's fun to see your creation and somebody else using your creation and learning from it. So that's just a part of the fun of it, for at least for me. And I think my co-host on that show as well. We just both love playing with electronic items and programming. So it's, again, a labor of love. And we do some of that design on the side. So it's not hurting that we're showing people what we do as far as other services that we offer. But that's not our primary goal with the show. So it's just the way it is. So we are going to talk about some ways to make money, though, because ultimately you would like to make some kind of money for your time, even if it just pays for your new equipment or it pays for your bandwidth, things like that, to cover your costs, because there is always a cost in doing a show, whether it be your time or it be the equipment or it be the bandwidth you're paying for or the storage you're paying for to host your shows. All that stuff, costs money. And there's nothing saying you shouldn't make some of that back. And there's a couple ways you can do it. You can do things through affiliate marketing as well. So you sell somebody else's product and you get a commission from it. That works fine, especially if you can't get an advertiser, because if you're just starting out, you're going to have to build up your audience, which takes a long time. And let me just say, I've been surprised by how long it takes to build an audience. And the thing about building an audience is it takes a lot of people to make a consistent audience, because everybody has their own schedules they do things in. We have a chat room, and it's not as busy as I'd like it to be. But we get, if you look at our downloads, we get a lot of downloads from some of our shows, and we tell them every week where we are, every week we record it live, and our chat room is still not as busy as I'd like it to be. I mean, we get people in there, but it's not like a huge chat room. And that's a little frustrating for me, but I understand it's a demographic that we're hitting as well. So that's been a learning experience for us. Now, we are getting great downloads, which I definitely feel very good about that part of it. But I'd like to have a little bit more live interactive of a show, and we just don't have that yet. And that's hopefully comes in the future as we continue to grow. So those are the kind of things you got to think about, as far as also your advertising, because what is your demographic? How many people download your show? Can you go to an advertiser and say, I have 12,000 people a week downloading our show, and that's something you can sell to them? Or if you're getting, 300 to 400 a week, you can still sell it to somebody. You're not going to be charged kind of money that you can if you're selling 12,000, if you're downloading 12,000 a week, but you can still maybe sell it to somebody. But what's the incentive to somebody for 300 to 400 people a week? So you got to kind of weigh that. There, depending on your show, it may be very, very targeted. And if that's the case, it could be very, very good for somebody, for a targeted audience. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind as well. We're going to go through all this stuff in a couple weeks, but the different options. And I've also been doing some remote guest solutions. I've been trying Skype. I've heard a couple other things that I've tried with not a lot of luck. And we're going to talk about that a little bit in a couple weeks too, or what I got out of that. And we have a bunch more things coming down. I think I've kind of gone through this list before, but I don't want to go into great detail this week. I just wanted to kind of hop in here, kind of explain where we are, what's going on, talk about getting some video in, and start moving in the video direction as well. And then hopefully by next week, everything that's working out, it's in the studio here, as far as the redoing of all the cabling and the poles and everything is done, and we can get back on a regular schedule again. So that's all I want to cover this week. And I want to remind you, we do record live every Monday at 8 p.m. Just prior to the Let's Make It show, which we record at 9 p.m. Eastern as well. So we're on for a couple hours on Monday nights. You can always come chat with us in the chat room. We'd love to have you come and chat with us. If you're watching us on YouTube, I do want to remind you that our shows are all moving to one YouTube channel. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago while we did this, but we're basically moving from a number of separate channels, one for each show, to one big channel where all of our shows will be put together, and they're also put in there in playlist. So if you're just interested in one particular show, you can pick that show. But we got a lot of shows, and the whole idea is let you know what else we have. So that's what we're moving over. To get that on YouTube, it is youtube.com/TechZenTV. So if you are watching us on the old YouTube channel, make sure you go right now. We're at the end of the show. Go ahead and go. Go over to youtube.com/TechZenTV, hit the subscribe button, and we hope to soon be doing YouTube Live on there as well. So working on that is another thing on the side, kind of behind the scenes. So again, if you have any comments, we'd love to have the comments. Just send email to newmediatech@tech-zen.tv, and we will pick that up. You can also go to the show notes page at techzen.tv/New Media Tech, or just go there and click on the shows and go to New Media Tech. And our show notes for every show are there. Plus, there's contact information, how you can contact us via phone and leave us a voicemail on our Google Voice, etc., etc., etc. So that's pretty much it for this week on New Media Tech. We'll see you all next week.